Welcome back to the basement, where it's top level content from the lower level. We don't get the laugh, and then you're gonna make me laugh. So this is the third time we tried to start this episode because somebody got the case of the giggles.
Yeah, Drew.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
I don't know what his problem is. He's all bubbly today.
I don't either, man. I don't know what my problem is either.
It's this sunshine. It just does something to you. I was in shorts today on Saturday, in shorts. And, you know, it's just what it does. It's what we touched on, we're going to touch on in a later episode, is seasonal depression, right? You know, it's a real thing, right? We're going to talk about mental health this episode. We go shoot. We didn't do any research. I mean, I don't have to do research. I live it every day. And I'm sure you guys, right? All right.
Yep.
All right. So we're just going to kind of toss back some ideas. We're going to talk about it. And we hope you guys enjoy our little episode. It's going to be a little different from what we've done the last couple weeks, where it's been full of research and facts and everything. We kind of just want to have a stress-free Saturday, and that's actually what it's all about. That's why we wanted to have this podcast, is we wanted to come together and just have a Saturday where we could just kick it. You know what I mean? And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to kick it. We're going to talk about mental health. So how do you guys feel about mental health?
I feel like, you know, that it gets overlooked, and specifically in men. Mm-hmm. I do feel like there needs to be more awareness of mental health, particularly in children, and also men. I mean, not leaving out the women, but
right.
You know, I feel like there's more of a stigma for a man getting help for mental health issues than others.
Yeah,
I feel like even though it's definitely come a long way. I mean, honestly, just even within our lifetime, like the progress that they've made as far as the awareness and the treatments and everything for mental health, I feel like we're still nowhere near where we need to be.
Yeah. Well, I teach this parenting class at the place I work. And one thing that we actually focus on, it's a fathering class is what it really is where does our mental health for men really start? It starts when we're young, right? Mm-hmm. What's one thing we were all told as little boys growing up? If you get hurt,
don't be a girl.
Don't be a girl. Don't cry.
Stop being a sissy.
Stop being a sissy. And you know what? I'm guilty of it. I do it with my boys now. But at the same time, it doesn't really teach them how to express their emotions. And I feel like that, you know, that done a lot more damage than what it done good. And I want to pause on our mental health episode because this dude just housed half a pizza. And for some reason, there's pizza sauce all the way on the computer screen.
It's been there.
Oh,
yeah,
I was about to say, my
and
goodness.
right here, too, is a little bit of that salsa from our International Food Challenge.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it may be for me for something else, but no, the pizza. It wasn't pizza.
If you haven't seen the live of these guys blowing chunks, it was not good for their mental health. But we'll go back into mental health. So, you know, it's something that, you know, a lot of people don't want to talk about, even for the females. You know, you don't feel like you really want to talk about it. You don't want to get help. You view it as a sign of weakness. And I'm here to tell you that that's, you know, that's the furthest thing from the truth. It's not weakness if you want to go out and get help, if you want to get your medication, if you want to go talk to a psychiatrist, to a person, or if you just want to message your buddy or even message us here. We'll help you out. There's a guy we met last week, that boy Clay on TikTok. I'm actually in his Discord. If you got to talk to somebody, that man's a great guy to talk to.
For sure.
You know, shout out to him. Shout out to Clay.
He's a really good dude.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, so don't ever feel like you don't have anyone to talk to because there is people out there. It's just, you know, it's tough. You know.
I feel like Drew hit on, like, one of the most important things, and you too. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there's not enough education to kids with it. Because you have to keep in mind, kids are still learning everything as they're getting older. And teaching mental health to them is the most important thing because that's part of them growing up. That's part of them needing that for their mental maturity. Because if they don't learn how to regulate their emotions as a kid, they'll have that mental maturity and emotional maturity their whole life. Mm-hmm. So whenever stuff starts going wrong as an adult, they don't know how to handle it because they're told to either suppress it or they're told, oh, you're just being a little sissy, you know, crying and stuff like that.
Being a crybaby, being annoying.
So, and then that leads to a lot bigger issues because eventually all those emotions are going to come out that they suppress. Mm-hmm. And I know that you guys are getting ready to scoff at this one. All right, so just go ahead and get it ready.
I got my finger on the boo button right now.
So, you know how all these famous people they all have their own charities and stuff like that. So Joe Burrow.
Here we go with this bull crap.
All right, go ahead and boo it. You bet to feel like a piece of crap for this one.
No, I'm not.
So the Joe Burrow Foundation, they actually focus on children's mental health. That's what his whole foundation is providing that awareness, because he understands, that's where it starts. He understands, and their whole foundation is pushing towards getting children mental health help, so that way they learn how to control their stuff, because that's what prevents, mentally and emotionally immature adults. And I feel like that is a big issue.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, I had some rough stuff in my childhood. I'm not going to get into all of it. But because of that, I did have to start getting counseling and stuff like that at a very young age. And at the time, I hated it. At the time, I was embarrassed.
There was that stigma. There was that stigma.
Well, and even still, it was like the stuff that I was having to talk about, too. It was rough.
Yeah.
So here I was probably about 6 or 7. And I'm having to talk to a therapist once a week for years. And I had talked to guidance counselors too, like the whole 9 yards. Like, it was rough, but looking back at it, I'm thankful for it now, because I did, like, if I wouldn't have learned how to, because I still struggle with some of the stuff to this day, honestly. But if I wouldn't have gotten help at a younger age, it's hard to tell where I would have ended up.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. I mean, and that is something that, that we don't put a whole lot of stock in. We're kind of like, as a parent, you feel like you're trying to lead them in the right way, but at the same time, we kind of like, we want to teach them to be tough and gritty. At the same time, I mean, trying to suppress their emotions is not teaching them to be tough.
No. I feel like that's one of the worst things you can do is keep it bottled up, because then there's one or two outcomes in that. As an adult, you either explode and you never know what might happen. Some people go off the deep end, and those people are dangerous, honestly. Sometimes. I'm not, giving an overall stereotype. I'm saying it can be dangerous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that, and it can cause your being dangerous as far as causing just health problems with yourself,
Yeah. Or, people then decide that they don't have any reason to live anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that there's so many people out there that they're like, nobody cares what I got to say. It doesn't matter to me if I know you or I don't know you. If you feel that, then I'm going to listen to what you got to say.
Exactly.
Because there is somebody out there that cares about what you got to say. Because I have a T-shirt that says "The world's better with you in it," and it's a mental health awareness shirt, and I mean that with my whole heart. So that's how I feel about suppressing emotion.
My thing is, everybody in this entire world contributes something to the entire world. There's a reason everybody's here. Whether you see that reason or not, maybe you just haven't gotten to the reason to figure out why you're there. Yeah. I went through a rough phase in like my real young adulthood, and I felt that way. And then I had my son, and I'm like, this is why I'm here.
Yeah, definitely. Becoming a parent changed my entire outlook on life.
Yeah, it did. Because it's like you stop living for yourself at that point. Like, you start living for somebody else, and that brings a whole new perspective to your life.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely.
That, and, just if you constantly have, like, a negative outlook on everything, if you constantly look at, like, I got to get up and work, I got to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. Like, when we're coaching football, man, I'm going to get off work, and I got to go to practice for another 2. Well, for us, it's like 3.5 hours waiting on, getting there early when the kids show up and waiting for the kids to get picked up. So you're there for like 4 days a week. Then your Saturdays are giving up.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you look at, like, you have that opportunity to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have those type of opportunities to get up and go to work. Some people literally are sitting in their house right now that don't have the ability to get up and go to work.
Yeah.
And they want that.
Yeah. You know, I say I'm guilty, and I love my career. My boss is great. The people I work with are great. But there's days, you know, everybody has, man, I don't want to do this today. I ain't feeling this today. But like you just said, you know, there's somebody out there that wishes they had the job to go to because they're struggling financially, or like you said, they just don't have the ability to get up and go. You know, and so then when I think about that, I stop and I'm like, okay, well, you know, I might not want to go today, but I'm thankful that I have it to go to. You know.
I got a question for y'all. Okay. It's a mental health related question. It's the last day of kindergarten. The last day of kindergarten, you're going to go pick up this kid from school, and you're going to hold your hand and walk down the road with him. That kid that you're picking up is you when you was in kindergarten on your last day of school. But you're the adult picking them up. What are you going to say to that, to yourself on the last day of kindergarten?
Man, that's a loaded question.
That's tough, ain't it?
Yeah.
I seen it on TikTok the other day, and I'm like, man.
I would have to think about that. I can't even answer that right off.
I seen some good answers to the fact where, you know, one of them was simply just don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
One of them was just enjoy your time in school and have fun. Don't worry about what other people think.
Yep.
And my answer would have been, I wouldn't say anything. I would just let that little kid be that little kid, you know?
Yeah.
Let that kid. There's an old country song. It gets me every time, and I don't know why, but it does. Because I watch my kids, you know, this world has pressured our kids so much to grow up. My son Cameron's in kindergarten and literally brings home 4 to 6 pages of homework a day home.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're at school 6-7 hours a day. They come home for another 30 to 40 minutes. I mean, and then, you know, we are in the sports. That's another responsibility thrown on them. We're trying so hard to make them grow up. But that country song, it just simply says, let them be little. So there's a lot of times, you know, my kids, like today, man, we was out at academy sports and Dunham sports, and they were aggravating. They were running, they were jumping, they were being loud, and I was getting so frustrated. But at the same time, was they being really bad, or was they just being kids?
Exactly.
You know, that's what we got to look at. Like, one thing I read is if your kids go to school or go out in public with other people, like strangers or parents, and they say how great your kids are, but they come home and you're like, that ain't my kids you're talking about because they wild here. They wild. It says you're being a great parent because you're teaching them not only one to be respectful and listen, but when they come home, they know they can be themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this definitely describes my kids. But, you know, man, I was talking about this with a coworker the other day. Being a parent is mentally exhausting.
It is.
Yeah.
Because, you know, or I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, I'm like, man, maybe I was too hard on them today. Maybe I was this, maybe I was that. And I feel guilty about it and bad about it long after they forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of like you just said, you know, were they actually being bad or were they just being little? And that question has haunted me a few times you know, since I've been a parent, because I'm like, man, maybe I was too hard on them. Maybe they were just kids being kids, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. It's tough.
And one thing I do with my kids is there's sometimes I do, like, because my wife works the evening time, so it's just me and the kids at home. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you know, I get overstimulated and I'm like, stop, you know. But when I'm having to jump on the kid, like jump on them or discipline them, however, I always come back. Like, I didn't used to do this, but I've watched it. Is, you know, of course I tell them I explain to them why they got in trouble. I told them we don't act like that. And I don't expect you to act like that. Do you understand? And, you know, I get them to say, yes, I understand. And then I hug them and say, I love you.
Yeah.
To let them know, yeah, you did wrong. You needed to be corrected.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't love you any less.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want them to know that. I don't want to, and it's big for me, I don't want to be driving down the road and heaven forbid, get in a car wreck and I pass away. And I don't want my kids growing up when they get in their adulthood and be like, did daddy really love me?
Absolutely, man. I think about that unhealthy amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, I will never ever say that I'm the perfect parent. And honestly, if somebody said they were the perfect parent, I'd be like, you're probably a terrible parent. But the thing is, one of the things that I've learned along the way is there's times I know I've been too hard on my kid, and then it eats me alive. I'll come back and I'll apologize to him and say I was in the wrong on that. You didn't deserve that. And I feel like kids need to hear that sometimes too, because as adults we need to hear that. I think we've all been at work and our supervisor's gone down our throat about something that happened, and it's like, okay, we really didn't deserve that, but they were having a bad day or something like that, and it's just the way things go. So, and sometimes it's nice if that supervisor just comes back and says, hey, I was harder on you than I needed to be, I'm sorry. And I feel like kids need to hear that because, I want to teach my son that you need to be accountable for your own actions. And that if you mess up, you need to let that person know you messed up, and that you're willing to be man enough to admit that you were in the wrong. Because, the thing about kids is that they're little humans. And I've touched on it before. I think that's the biggest problem that we have as parents sometimes is, we look at them as kids, but we need to look at them as just mini humans.
Yeah.
Yep.
They still have emotions. They still have feelings. They still have thoughts. They still care about what people think about them. And it's tough to think about sometimes, but that's the quickest thing you got to remember is they're just mini versions of you.
Right.
They have the same thoughts, feelings, actions, reactions, and everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then that goes into sports where we coach. Is a reason why a lot of kids are quitting sports and not wanting to play sports at an alarming rate right now. And it's not because they don't want it, like they're being lazy or the video games or whatever in the world you want to say. It's simply because we've literally turned sports into a job. Think about it.
Yeah.
At 5 years old, I had my son Cameron. We're there 2 hours, 4 days a week. And I'm like, all right, it's time to run drills. We're going to sprint. We're going to do this. Then you're going to get in the tackling drills. Then you're going to get in formation. It's a job.
Yeah.
At the last week we had practice was our best practices we had. Because we was like, you know what? It's the last week. We started joking, kidding around, picking on the kids. We had a little tackling dummy, and we'd move it around on them and pick. And them kids loved it. And they just had more fire about them. Did they not?
They did.
And, we got to make it fun for them. And, and I know I transitioned into coaching, but we hit on this before is you don't know what that kid's got going on in their life.
No, you don't.
So if you could be like a volunteer in youth, do it. Jump out and do it. Because sometimes, man, that kid, that could be the only positive influence they got in their life is the coach,
Yeah.
And
I don't think as a coach you can ever tell a kid that you're proud of them enough. Because you never know at home. At home, they may get praised the whole time they're at home. There's some of those kids, you may not know the last time somebody told them they were proud of them.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
If they've ever even heard it. I know that's, a little extreme to say, but...
That's true.
Yeah, the reality is some kids just don't get that.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like as coaches, these kids look up to us more than we think sometimes.
They really do.
Yeah. And so... We've talked about this before in our Problem with Youth Sports episode. We've all as coaches been guilty of losing our temper or, maybe reacting to something in a way in front of the kids that we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But, I think it's important to keep in mind just what Hunter said. You got to build these kids up.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily even believe in tear them down and rebuild them. Some kids come in, and we've all coached kids like this. They got the lowest self-esteem ever. I can't do this. I can't.
Right.
And I always tell the kids, I'm like, you can do anything that you want to do. You just got to want to do it. And like, honestly, it hasn't helped every single kid that I've had like that. But a lot of the kids, it just maybe takes somebody to be like, no, you can do this. I believe in you.
Yeah. I always tell my kids, whenever they say I can't, I'm like, yes, you can. Never say you can't. Because, there's a lot of times, like, in my life, I've done that. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. And then when I do it, I'm like, this wasn't hard at all.
This might sound cheesy, but I'm going to use content creation as an example.
Oh, dude, it is intimidating.
It is. And I'm like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I don't want people hearing my voice. But now that we do it all the time, like when there's a camera on, I'm just like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, it's not that bad because you could do it.
Yeah.
Anybody can do this.
Yeah.
Anybody.
All you got to think about is what you want to talk about and what message you want to send to people. Or sometimes you just wing it.
You just you just hit record and you say, welcome to the basement, and you bust out laughing and you're like, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
But this has been a huge stress reliever. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Like, piggybacking off of what Drew just said, like, I absolutely hate the sound of my voice. I know everybody says I don't like. No, you don't understand. Like, if I hear my voice, I'll shut it off. If I hear like a replay of my voice, I literally will turn it off. That's how much I hate my voice. So that's why I've been nervous about this, you know. And sometimes I still cringe a little bit whenever I'm going back and listening to our podcast and stuff like that, like going back and re-listening.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I sound so dumb. Like, why do people? I'm like, people hate me. Like, that.
Yeah. But
I don't know. When I see myself on there, I'm like, oh, see that guy? He's a famous podcaster.
But, you know, we've gone from creating content down here that we put out and kind of, you know, I don't want to, for lack of a better term, you know, we can hide behind the post. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when we're out here doing lives,
Yeah.
you know, that's as raw and uncut as it gets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Other than you being here in person, you know?
Which may happen one day.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I just threw up all over Alive.
Yeah, he puked on Alive, and I made fun of him.
Oh, everybody did. But you know what?
It happened.
It is what it is.
We was eating baked seasoned squid
Terrible.
from Thailand.
With some kind of paste on it that was supposed to be saucy.
From Turkey.
It was a terrible
It's
combination.
also very salty.
I'm telling you, the second that the consistency touched my mouth, I couldn't taste anything. It was just, my brain just instantly said, nope.
But we're going to wrap that back in with mental health is I look forward to recording and getting in front of the camera. And growing up, I was so scared of public speaking. I had a speech class at Bluefield State back in 2008. And I literally just failed the class because I did not want to get up. I was like, I'm not getting in front of them talking. I'm not doing it. I said, I'll just fail the class and take something else. And I did. I failed it because I did not want to get up there in front of the class. And it was only 15 people. Now, I can literally get in front of 120 people. I got in front of the assistant governor of Virginia and got up there and said, man, I was up in Richmond. And I said, I was wearing a Mountaineer shirt. And I said, man, I had to drive through a lot of trash to get here today. And I'm mainly talking about Blacksburg and Charlottesville. And they died laughing. I would have never done that. And I was in front of probably 150 people. I mean, I'm talking like assistant governor in Commonwealth of Virginia, director of this department that I work at. I mean, I'm talking like major players in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I was like, Blacksburg, Charlottesville suck, which is like their shining, jewel in Virginia. And I was like, they're terrible. And I'm in a West Virginia shirt. So it's just, if you're going through mental health things and you're struggling, get out there and find something to do. Is it fishing? Get out there and fish. Get out there and hunt. Your thing may be woodworking. Like my dad, man, he likes to make flags and wooden things. He made this sign up here. They said I didn't give him a shout out for. So here's your shout out, Dad. You made this beautiful sign. Make me a flag to go right. I'm just playing. I'm just picking on you, Dad. But yeah, just find something that interests you. Like the worst thing you could do if you're depressed is sit there.
Yeah.
I read a really interesting story. How many times have y'all heard that video games is bad for kids?
Tons,
right? Mm-hmm. They say it's violent and all that stuff. Well, I read this guy. He left a review on this game. I never played the game, so I don't know anything about it. But it was a review for Stardew Valley. I don't know what that game is. This guy said he bought it for his son, who was like 14, and said, my man's over here choking. We may just be down to 2 people on the podcast. He may pass away. But anyways, it was Stardew Valley, and he left a review for this game. And, he said, I know a lot of people talk down about video games and not wanting their kids to play it. He said, but I bought my son this game, and I hated it at first. He said, because I didn't know anything about video games, and he said that's all this kid done 24/7. He said it got to the point where we wasn't even talking. He said our relationship was terrible because we just didn't communicate.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so I was like, I gotta see why this game's so good. So he went out and bought a gaming system, bought the game, and then his son invited him to a server to teach him how to play the game. Now they play that game every day together to the point where their relationship is so good now that they go out for events outside the house. He said video games saved his relationship with his kids. So he found something he had in common with his kids, which is important.
Yep.
Well, there's also been proof too, like as far as video games with kids, that video games actually help with decision-making skills, problem-solving skills.
Yeah. I read another this one of them old race car games we used to play with, Cruising USA.
Cruising USA.
Where the whoever got the best lap, that ghost car would always be there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy. He said his older brother, him and his older brother used to play all the time, and his older brother died, had the best time on that track, and he said he'd race that ghost car every time. And he said he got to the point where he was beating the ghost car, but he would stop at the finish line so the ghost car would beat him, so he could always race with his brother.
Yeah, I've seen a few posts like that on Forza.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it can be the same thing.
yeah, that's awesome, dude. People are quick to put down something that they don't understand, or something that they don't necessarily like or agree with, and instead of doing that, like I feel like it's not just video games, but geez, man, just about everything in this world now. You know, if you don't agree with it or you don't like it, it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe try to see how other people see it, or maybe try something new. Or maybe just mind your business sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be no kind of way, but
like if something's not directly affecting your life and it's making somebody else happy, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, that's how I see it, man.
Just because it's different from what you're doing, what you're saying, what you're, anything like that, doesn't make it wrong. It literally just makes it different.
Yeah, and that's how it is, dude. But so many people nowadays just can't. They just can't. They just can't leave it alone. They can't let somebody else be.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I feel like that was a pretty good episode on mental health. What do you guys think?
Yeah, right at 30 minutes.
It wasn't no scientific study or anything like that. It was just guys talking about mental health, coaches talking about mental health.
So I just want to add one thing.
Go ahead.
And I know it's been said by everybody pretty much on our episode with that boy Clay, but if you ever feel alone, message our pages. One of the three of us will get back to you.
Absolutely.
If it's to that level, I'll give you my phone number. We can talk it out. Don't ever feel like you're alone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And in case you don't feel comfortable reaching out to us, the suicide hotline number is now 988. You can call or text that number if you need to. So that way, some people don't feel comfortable talking on the phone about situations. They have it to where you can text it. They made it a simple number to remember. Yeah. So always reach out.
There's always somebody that wants you here.
And it always gets better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't think we're just talking like this, like we don't understand what you're going through. I mean, I'll be vulnerable enough to share with you. I mean, I'm diagnosed bipolar type 1 disorder with generalized anxiety. So I know what mental health is.
Absolutely.
I understand it. I lived through it.
Yeah.
So don't feel like if you talk to me, I'm going to be looking down on you. I'm going to be looking at you level, man.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like all the three of us here have some sort of diagnosis.
Yeah.
I have ADHD and depression, so.
I'm bipolar type 2 with depression, anxiety.
So you're 100% not alone. Absolutely not.
With that being said, I appreciate you guys stopping by, taking a listen to us. It's a little bit of different week, a little bit different episodes, but it's always top level content from the lower level. Thank you for joining us at the basement. Follow, like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment with some love.
Y'all take care.
Day.